my office and drove to the Magic Movie Productions studios. I asked for Mr. Frank's office at Gate 4 and was sent to a large administration building. I waited, and after 10 minutes, I was taken to Mr. Frank's office. I had expected to talk to a secretary, but I was taken in to see Mr. Frank himself. Homer Frank was a tall, bald man with a neat gray beard. He walked round his huge desk to shake my hand. "Make yourself comfortable," he said, pointing to some leather armchairs in one corner of the enormous office. "I wanted to see you myself before you left for Istanbul. Your air tickets and Rick's instructions. Handed me a long letter. I hope that Rick is told you. Then behind the door was going to be a blockbuster. Nothing was finishing. Gail shouldn't know anything about the threats. She would worry. I think she's already worried, I replied, and I told Mr. Frank about the attack on Gail in the Recoleta cemetery. "Yes, I know about that," the studio boss replied. "Rick called me soon after it happened, and before that, there was Josie's accident." "Yeah, Josie's accident. But there's one thing I wanted to ask you, Mr. Frank," I said. "Rick told me that you had received the death threats against Gail by email." "That's correct," Frank said. "I don't know a lot about computers," I went on, "but isn't the address of the sender usually given on an email message? Where did the messages come from?" "I don't know. When I switched on my computer, the messages were waiting for me, but there was no sender's address." "Can you see the messages? There might be some clues in them." Frank shook his head. "No, I'm afraid I deleted the messages after I read them." Just then, the secretary came into the room. "Excuse me, Mr. Frank," he said, "but there's an urgent phone call for you." "Who is it?" Frank asked. "The caller wouldn't give his name. It's a man, and he says he's a friend of Vincent," the secretary replied. Then he left the room. Homer Frank's face suddenly looked much older. He walked across to his desk and picked up a red phone. Then he said,